Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak. I'm joined by Ralph Schrager up in Massachusetts, Ray Clifford in Ohio. We are recording this on, I guess it's Tuesday, September 12th at about 12:30 Eastern Time. It's a good 12 hours after the Jets beat the Buffalo Bills, but of course, bittersweet. And we'll get into it in a lot of detail. And Ralph, how you doing today?
Well, I'll tell you, Marty, I was out driving and was listening to an oldie station, and I heard a Beatles song that is perfect for Aaron Rodgers. Remember Hello, Goodbye?
That's it.
And then it made me think of another Beatles song, which is good for Zach Wilson. You better run for your life if you can.
Yeah. Ray, how you doing?
Well, I'll put it this way, at least we won this time, unlike 99. At least we won it, and it was exciting as all hell.
Oh, it was great. It was great.
I mean, not just that either. The tying, touchdown, everything was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But
that field goal, of course, that field goal is classic Jets, right?
I know. If that's us, that bounces straight back out into the field.
Incredible. It's incredible. And listen, we could all be glass half empty, all three of us, but I like to be realistic. But I was thinking, it's interesting. The Jets, when you look at their history, they signed probably the best coach in the NFL history and one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history. The coach never coached a game, and the quarterback never completed a pass, which, when you think about it, is incredible. Ralph?
I mean, we can spin this so many different ways. I was thinking, who are we going to get for to sub to take over? And I was thinking Tom, but not Tom Brady, Tom Tupa. Since
boy, yeah. And Brady's name came up, and Ray, I even brought it up last night when you were working. And if you look at our text messages, by the way, Ralph, Ray told me he got 99 text messages. He didn't want to read them because he wanted to watch the game on tape.
Who was sending them?
We were going, you guys, and then but the 99 was from that group chat that I do for the Jets club here in Ohio. they were I could hear it beeping in my ear all night. Messages. I'm like, I don't want to know.
Yeah. And again, I actually slept great. I was upset, slept great, but waking up and I was listening to the talk radio show and some television, and I just got to say, and again, I know I could be negative. I'm not. Everyone knows I can't stand Zach Wilson, but Jet fans out there that think that because of the Jets defense and Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, that Zach Wilson will lead them. I don't know what they're looking at. I have no confidence in him, and I think the coaching staff has no confidence in him. And perfect proof is, I mean, how many plays was Garrett Wilson one-on-one with the defensive back, and they didn't even attempt to throw it. And the touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson that goes on Zach Wilson's record is one of the worst passes you ever want to see in your life.
It's the identical play that Rodgers threw to him in the Giant game, except he didn't throw it quite as well.
Right.
A quick assessment of Zach Wilson last night. The good news is his little dink and dunk passing, he wasn't throwing anything in the dirt or 10 feet over his head. But the bad news is he still can't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And it's simply because the game is just too fast for him.
Yeah.
And that's not going to change overnight. Maybe in a few years it will, but it's not going to change overnight.
Ralph, I've watched football as much as you. I want to be optimistic. I don't see it happening with this kid. And it was funny because I thought,
it's not going to happen on the Jets. I can tell you that.
The best pass he threw was almost dropped by Alan Lazard.
I know,
which would have been something. But I'm hearing all these names now, and anywhere from Carson Wentz, to Colt McCoy, to who's the guy from the Atlanta retired?
Matt Ryan,
Phillip
Rivers. And probably the
Marcus
best,
Mariota.
yeah, Marcus Mariota. I think the best choice might be Nick Foles, since Joe Douglas knows him. He's experienced. I mean, you're shaking your head. You think he'd be better than Zach Wilson?
I think any of those guys could be at this point.
Yeah,
most
I don't want any of them. I'm not sure who wouldn't be any.
You look at their team last night, and with a mediocre quarterback, they could make the playoffs.
Oh God,
but Ralph, the one thing I'll say is he was less than mediocre. I mean,
no, I'm saying get someone else. Get a mediocre
yeah, I mean,
quarterback.
he was so bad. It took Josh Allen to turn the ball over like he did, and a couple of questionable plays. The one where Salah was threw the red flag, which they said you can't, and the touchdown pass where he was just like an inch.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe that. I was sure he was over when he threw that.
Yeah. And he made a nice twist. If you saw that play where they had him and then he tossed the ball. That was a wonderful play.
Well, look, Marty, I'm saying that I think with like a Nick Foles or a Marcus Mariota, just getting mediocre play out of those guys. And you're not going to get out of Zach Wilson. I don't think Zach Wilson was that bad last night. It's because they didn't let him do anything.
They didn't let him.
You can't go the whole year with not letting a quarterback do something in this league.
You can't do that. You got to be proactive in this league. And let's, just think about it. If Rodgers was in there, let's say at the end when there was 1-on-1 with Garrett Wilson, you think he's not throwing the ball to Garrett Wilson?
It wouldn't have even been a game. If Rodgers was in there, they just would have won that game comfortably.
I think you're right. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Now, a couple of things. First of all, I want to tell Jet fans, the days of like Trent Dilfer, of just going there and handing the ball off and being a game manager, I don't care what anyone says. It's going to take more than that now. Everyone's saying, they're going to become a run-only team. They're not going to win like that. They've got to get someone in there. And, I mean, it's just, oh, God, it's unbelievable. I'll tell you, after last night, I can tell you one thing. Bill Belichick and Mike McDaniel were licking their chops because they know what they have if Zach Wilson's there.
Here's the problem. In 1999, when Vinny went down, Parcells went with Rick Myrer, another number 2 pick who was a bust. Right. And he stuck with him too long. Which was a mistake. Afterwards. Well, he admitted it. And, he ends up with Ray Lucas, a guy who's barely even a quarterback who wins 6 out of 8 games. They would have made the playoffs. The question is, how long does Salah stick with him? He says he's the quarterback for the rest of the year. Well, he said that last year, too. I mean, how long do you stick with the guy? The problem is if he wins a game here and there, that's, in a way that's worse because,
right.
You want to rip the Band-Aid off.
Ray, he bails out every play. I know. And Ray, I got to give kudos to Ray Ralph. He's been saying from day one, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line.
Been saying it for 4 years.
Well, yeah.
Dwayne Brown flagged on that play, and I saw Mekhi Becton, who didn't have a bad game. A couple of pass plays, though, man, they went right around him, Ralph.
Look, Marty, we were all over Josh Allen too. So the quarterbacks are getting destroyed this weekend. The thing about you can't say Joe Douglas hasn't tried. A lot of those players haven't worked out, but like I said to Marty, you didn't read it probably, right? Because you're not reading any text. He's invested 2 first-round picks, 1 second-round pick, 2 fourth-round picks, and paid a lot of money for guys like McGovern, Tomlinson, and Brown. Some of them haven't worked out, some have. But, what else could he do at this point? I mean,
it's way too late in the game.
Yeah.
Fix it. You can't. But my problem with the Dwayne Brown thing was here's a guy who didn't play a single snap.
Yeah, I agree.
Preseason. And he walks in on game 1 and gets beat. I'm not mad at Dwayne Brown. I'm not shocked by that at all. I mean, what did they think was going to happen? I mean, I'm surprised that Rodgers didn't have somebody over there to help pass protect on that side.
I agree totally. That was on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And, I would have gone with Elijah Vera Tucker and stuck Joe Tippmann at guard, and things would have been okay.
I think so
until Dwayne Brown got up to speed.
Yeah.
I mean, even Brees Hall, who's had a great game. He's still not in perfect game shape, or he would have scored a touchdown.
There
on
was
that
no
one.
way he gets run down on that.
Yeah,
he was gassed afterwards. You could
and
tell.
he's been practicing.
Yeah,
and Dwayne Brown, he's done nothing, and he's 38 years old. It was insane. It really was.
Yeah.
It was a bad call, and just a couple of things, and we'll get into. I want you guys to come up with a short list of 2 or 3 players for quarterbacks. Ralph, you came up with Nick Foles. He's already on one of my 3. But just while I'm just going over some stats for the people if they didn't see it, Zach Wilson was 14 to 21, 140 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. Brees Hall, 10 carries, 127 yards. And Brees Hall also had that beautiful reception.
Yeah, it was a nice catch.
20 yards, which was great. And Dalvin Cook, who I thought he looked really good.
He
had a couple of early runs. He was shut down at the line of scrimmage. He had 13 carries, 33 yards, and he had 3 receptions for 26. He's really a diverse player. I like the way he looked. Michael Carter had 1 rush for 6 yards, 2 receptions for 12. And that's all I'm going to go through. Randall Cobb was non-existent.
Well, did Hardman even play?
Hardman,
no.
I don't think he.
I didn't even hear his name.
Right. Now, just to go through defense, I mean, DJ Reed, he had 11 total sacks. Ralph, do you consider that tackles? I'm sorry, tackles. Do you consider that a good stat for?
It depends. With cornerbacks, it can go either way. It can mean that they're getting picked on like crazy, or it can mean that he's playing the run well. In Reed's case, I don't think he played a bad game.
No, I don't either. And Ray, Ralph's favorite player, Quincy Williams, had 10 total tackles, 9 solo. What was your opinion of Quincy last night?
I thought Quincy made a couple big tackles on that last Buffalo drive to keep that and make them have to punt. And I thought he played a solid game. I don't think he ever got really burned on any play that I remember. And he made some big tackles. So I liked him overall. I thought Sauce got schooled a little bit by
a little bit, yeah.
But I think that maybe that's good for him.
Yeah.
We're always going to have it easy. So I mean, he wasn't horrible, and he got the key play of the game when they got the push off call, which was a good call. I mean,
it was a good call, and he did that one other time they didn't call it.
Yep.
That I saw. He might have done it more. I don't know. But Ralph, did you pay attention? I'm just curious. Tony Adams at all? He had 5.
Well, I know that one play he played. I made a lousy play on that you texted me on, but I didn't see a whole lot of him because what's his name? Jordan Whitehead was stealing all the thunder.
Oh, he was great. He was great. I thought. Did you
Amos
on the first interception? He should have batted it down or caught.
Yeah, I know.
Down.
It's such a tough call where a guy instinctively is going to go for it,
right?
But you know what? They would have punted. They would have. I guess I didn't lose much sleep over that one, but I know what you mean.
Ray. What was your opinion of Quinnen Williams?
Quinnen was good. I liked. I was afraid, and this is what I'm going to be afraid of when we do play New England, is that Belichick's going to wait till he's off the field and go to the hurry up so we can't rotate him out, keep him up. Because even Aikman made a good point of how much a difference it is when he's on the field and when he's off with our defensive line and the pressure we get. So, I thought he was good. He's solid. He didn't,
right. And
he makes plays every game.
Ray, I think they recognized that the Jets, because I believe one of their timeouts at the end of regulations was just so Quinnen Williams could catch his breath, and stay on the field. I thought it was interesting that who was that guy? Quentin Jefferson had a couple
good plays.
He's good. He's good, Quentin Jefferson.
Yeah, he did pretty good. And Ralph, there was a Jamie and Sherwood sighting.
There was a Jamie Short sighting, and my favorite Jet, John Franklin Myers.
He made a play early.
He did okay, and I thought Jermaine Johnson was very active.
Johnson was
McDonald. I don't think hardly played at all.
I was going to say, was he even on the field much?
He was on the field. He was credited with 1 solo tackle.
Okay,
which was good. And I try to email or text you guys as soon as I find out who the inactives were. And we spoke about it. I don't think any of those players that were inactive are a surprise. Out of the three rookie receivers, obviously now you look back, he made the right choice. But even if he didn't score that touchdown, I think he was the right choice.
They need him. I mean, he fills a need that nobody else can. You know, it's funny, after the Jets gave him a spot on the roster, I went back and watched his tapes again, and you know, he returned several punts for touchdowns, and he has an affinity for reversing field. And you know, I was just praying that nobody would clip.
That's the problem.
But
now they're calling that crackback block too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was a leg whip or something.
Well, the ref said it should have had an asterisk because, but I thought that was. I'm not so sure that was a leg whip. I mean, he was diving to the side to be able to keep your leg on the ground when you're diving. He thought he was going to hit the guy with his body.
I've seen Mac Jones do that shit on purpose and not get called for it.
Usually you can tell it's when it's intentional.
Well, that was the spot of that foul would have been probably 10 yards back, still practically in field goal range.
Oh, yeah. It was at like 20 or 22 or something.
Yeah. So
and we would have had a first down, so they could have probably run the ball and got.
Well, they would have run it three times for 3 yards and then kicked the field goal.
Yeah, Ray, I want to ask you because I know you criticized the Eagles for going for it on fourth down on Sunday. What were your thoughts when the Jets went for it and Zach got on the quarterback sneak?
Oh, I was all for that one. I was like, we can't keep screwing around with settling for field goals. We got to keep trying to move the ball, and I was all for that one. I didn't know if we'd get it because our knack for not being able to pick up inches, much less a yard on third or fourth, but I was for it. I thought that was a good time to go for it.
Yeah, and Ralph, even though he didn't get a sack, I thought Bryce Huff was pretty good.
He was active. He was in there. You know, I've seen him have better games, but like it seems like there were just a bunch of guys buzzing around. And you know, if that were like a Mac Jones, they would have had 8 sacks that game. But God, Josh Allen he's just really frustrating to play against.
He really is, especially at some of those third down runs. It was
early on, and the DBs or whoever turning their back, so he's just running right behind them, so they don't know he's even coming by the time he's out there. We couldn't get off the field a lot early, and it was bugging me because it seemed like, oh, here we go again. We can't stop him on third down.
Ralph, you mentioned it, but was McCole Hardman, was he on the field? He was active.
I didn't see him at all. But, the crazy thing is now with Zach Wilson, a quarterback, we got all these receivers, and they're all going to be just standing around gathering dust. It's he certainly McCole Hardman, he wasn't getting thrown to probably by Rodgers, but
right.
These guys are all thinking, oh man, what did I come to this team for now?
Okay. And I just want to go on the record. Everyone knows I'm not a Zach Wilson fan. With that said, if somehow a light goes on and we get lightning in the bottle, I'd be ecstatic. I'm happy to admit I'm wrong. But my short list of QBs right now, I have Nick Foles, who Ralph mentioned. I have Matt Ryan. I mean, he might look at this team and say, all they have to do is go down there and, hand the ball off. I just have questions about their offensive line. And I still put Tom Brady, though. I know it's a long shot. He was just honored by Kraft, and he's part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. So I don't know what you have to do. But that's my short list. I don't know what else to say, what they're going to do. Now, the guy that's who is it, Boyle, the third string?
Yeah,
because somebody brought out a point on radio that don't be surprised if Belichick tries to claim him off the practice squad. Go ahead.
I in the Giant game, I thought he played okay, better than Wilson, looked, and he actually looked like a normal quarterback.
He did.
So I don't know if they're going to give him a shot. What about Phillip Rivers? Does that do anything for you?
I like Phillip Rivers, and wasn't it? I read that someone was going to try to get him out of retirement last year. in the playoffs, I believe it was. I forgot which team it was. But do you know exactly how old he is? I can look it up right now.
I'm gonna guess like 39, 30, something like that. Around Rodgers' age, but yeah, he came in with Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning.
The other thing is that
How many years has he been out of the league now? 1 or 2?
This will be the second year, I think.
I mean, all right. Hypothetically, if they sign Phillip Rivers or a Matt Ryan,
he's
and
41.
41, and they walk into camp, they walk into the Jets training facility. How long before do you think it would take for them to be able to start a game?
Well, let's say they came in tomorrow. I think it'd be New England. It's not going to be Dallas.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking New England, I'd be happy for.
And it would be a dummy down playbook.
Yeah.
It would be. This is what a headache. But you know what? The other thing is this too. If you're a quarterback, do you say to yourself, I don't know, the Jets are the Jets. I don't want to get hurt.
Oh no! I mean, you look at the talent on that team. Are you kidding me?
I think they're more likely to go. Yeah, do I want to play behind that offensive line and get killed?
That's what I'm thinking, Ralph. I agree with Ray.
I'm not
quarterback.
Sure.
You tell me quarterbacks who don't have a job right now would say no to the Jets with.
No. Listen, no. If you ask Carson Wentz, he takes an express bus to Florham Park,
right?
Jet. But I'm saying
Rivers might be giving it some thought though. Rivers isn't going to go. Oh yeah, let me out there. He's been gone for a year. I'm not sure if he's going to be. Let me jump back in there.
The only reason I think Rivers you have a shot is because he never won a Super Bowl.
He never even got into one.
And should have, but didn't.
Well, the Jets had something to do with that at least once or maybe twice. I think they beat him.
Once it was Breeze. Was
it Breeze? Oh, back
Breeze
then.
When we won in overtime.
Yeah, right. So it was the other one when they were the number 1 seed. He's a fairly tough guy too. I don't know. I mean, to me, if I'm a quarterback, I look at those running backs and the receivers. And the offensive line will get a little better as the year goes on.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so. Yeah, Ralph, who was the guy? He was an announcer, and I think Miami talked him into coming back, but he got hurt also. You know who it was? About 5-6 years ago.
God,
you don't remember?
Yeah, he got hurt where with Miami.
I think it was. Was it Miami? And he was on Denver. He had a good release.
Brian Greasy?
No, not that far back.
Tommy Maddox?
No, not that far back.
Trevor Siemian?
No.
We kicked those tires.
Luke Falk?
No. Let me just see. Ray, while I'm looking this up, what besides the offensive line and Zach Wilson, what were you unhappy about the game with the Jets? What about the play calling?
Well, I can't really. I'm not going to comment on the play calling because who knows what they would have called if it was Rodgers in there opposed to Zach, and they weren't prepared for that. So the whole game plan changes once we change quarterbacks.
Well,
I think one of the things
it was Jay Cutler.
Oh, Jay Cutler.
Oh yeah,
he was like on the NFL. Did he go to Miami?
Yeah, it was Miami. Yep. About the play calling, I've just been reading something which really surprises me. Have you guys been reading this about how Rodgers really didn't like these cut block protections and quick passes, and he disagreed with that? And 2 out of the first 4 Hackett called were that. I mean, something that seems crazy to me with the relationship these 2 guys have, that Hackett's not going to listen to his issues with that. I mean, I'm just stunned by that.
I don't understand it. By the way, Mark Sanchez is 36.
I know, he's still a kid.
So look.
How many years has it been? How many years?
It's been a while. Today is Tuesday. I say by Thursday they'll have someone. Okay, which I really believe that. I don't. I'm sure. Listen, they're going to kick the tires. Joe Dudley.
They have to. Yeah, he'll have no choice.
They gotta get someone with experience in there. I mean, just if nothing else, to just settle Wilson down. But I'm thinking, how old is Vinny Testaverde? If they asked him, he would do it.
You would.
Well, do you know
He
how
couldn't be any
old,
worse than Flacco.
do you know how old Vinny was when he retired?
Probably like 42.
44.
44. Wow.
So he's probably not even 50 yet.
How old was he when he blew out his Achilles? He was like in his late 30s, right? Like 38.
So. I'm not sure, but I think he might have gotten. I could be wrong. I know he was up in New England for part of it as a backup.
Yeah, right? He was also in Dallas with Parcells.
He loved football.
His last year was 2007. He came into the league in 1987.
Yeah, but he was older actually because he had been redshirted.
Right.
So
yeah.
So he was in the league for 12 years when he got his Achilles ripped. So he was probably about 36, 30, something like that.
36, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I heard him say he retired at 44. That doesn't make sense then.
Well, anyway, while you're doing these numbers, I got a question for you.
Go ahead,
guys,
Ray.
straight up. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is ever going to play again?
That's everyone's talking about. Go ahead, Ray. You start.
I do. I think he's going to want to prove that he can still do it, unless there's some real issue with the rehab on it. I mean, if it had been a knee or maybe something with his shoulder, I think I'd be more iffy about it. But I think he'll want to go give it another try. I don't think he wants to go through all this and then just go, oh well, that's that.
Well, as a second question, if he does play, do you think he'll be anywhere near what he was at this?
Yeah, I think he was becoming less and less mobile anyway all the time. I don't think any of that's going to affect his ability to throw the ball accurately. But it's a case of. I think it's more a case of I think he's going to want to show he's still got it. I don't think it's a case of if he can. I think he's going to want to, but who knows? He's a little fickle at times on stuff like that. So,
yeah, I don't think he does. I think, well, the only thing that I believe he's not married now and doesn't have kids.
No, he's not.
I think that would play a part of it. So, gun to my head, I say he probably won't, but I wouldn't be shocked. Because I don't think a guy like that wants to go out like this either.
Well, I remember when Marino, who along with Rodgers had two of the best arms in the history of the game, he blew his out in his mid-30s. He was never the same because he couldn't push off. He was just throwing with his arm. Now, on the other hand, Testaverde, he still could throw. He had strength. Of course, with Parcells gone, he started throwing interceptions again. But I guess you don't know, but if I was a betting man, I'd say no. Yeah.
You're saying Marino tore his Achilles?
Yeah. In his mid-30s, I think.
On that.
Yeah.
Which was it his left foot or his right?
Oh, I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. Well, that's true. I guess it depends.
If it's his left, it's not going to affect him pushing off. If it was his right.
I just know that he couldn't throw the ball the same anymore.
Yeah.
It looked like he was winging it with his arm all the time.
Yeah.
Which is what Namath was doing toward the end of his career, too. Because he had no knees to push off. But I guess it does depend. Which one? I
thought it was his left, but
Rodgers' legs. Is it?
You know what? I don't want to go back look at the film, but
yeah,
it probably does make a difference.
Yeah.
They're going into Dallas. We'll probably do a show Friday, I guess, a preview show. And I don't bet, so I don't follow the spreads, but I'm guessing that it might have started out at, 6-7 points. And by the end of the week, it's going to probably be 12 or 13.
I just read it started at like 3.5 and jumped to like 7 or 8. But it'll probably keep going.
It's going to keep going up. It's just going to keep going up. I with that defense, I don't know if you saw any of the Giant games.
It's going to be a train wreck. Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't see with it. It's like the worst matchup for the Jets offense.
Well,
imagine the offensive line.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. Ray, I don't know. Did you see any of the Giant game?
Highlights, but yeah, I said that I think it would have been a tough one even with Rodgers in there until I'm convinced our offensive line is a little more solid. But yeah, this just makes it that much worse because Zach at this point is not somebody who handles the pressure real well, and it just seems to snowball with him once it starts going bad.
Yeah.
The only thing I think, I want to know, I want to see if our defense can keep it a close game, because that's, I said before, our defense will carry us a long way this year, but I don't know.
I thought about that, and I made the Trent Dilfer comparison, and I'm sorry that if they go with Zach, it's going to be the same movie over again, where the defense will keep us in a lot of games, but towards the end of the year, they're going to be worn down from these 3 and outs.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. I don't care what any of these commentators or Jet fans say on Twitter or on the radio. And again, I hope I'm wrong. I just don't see it happening with Zach Wilson.
Well, one of the differences between that situation, the Trent Dilfer situation, was that Baltimore's defense was so good they were scoring points. I mean, they literally were almost outscoring the offense the last 6 or 7 games of the season.
And that was one of the top 5 defenses in our lifetime. Yeah.
And we don't score points as a defense. We can keep the score low. That's what I'm referring to. But I don't know we can score on Dallas is a problem.
But Ray, the point you bring out though is interesting though too, because we've been crying about turnovers all off season, and yesterday they had like 3 interceptions and 1 fumble. So the fact that they didn't score is one thing, but the fact that at least they're getting turnovers, let's see where this goes. You know what I mean?
Well, Josh Allen has been good to them about that. Last year in the first game when they beat him, I think Whitehead got one off him too, where he undercut a route that was going right, and it was just almost a similar type play to the last one he got. Yeah, I mean, people are making excuses for Josh Allen. I think the guy, he's a trick or treat player. He does some great things, does some really bad. He's an erratic quarterback.
He had a stretch last year where he had like 3 or 4 games in a row, including the Jet game, where he was just terrible, on decision making, throwing the ball, and he was turning the ball over at bad times for several games, and then he turned it back around. But how about that? The fumble that he had. How about that hit Michael Clemens laid on?
Yeah. Well, it's about time somebody put a hit on him that had an effect.
Right.
They can't hurt that guy.
And I'm reluctant to bring it up because of how the Giants got whipped, but a lot of people are saying, since Brian Daboll left Buffalo,
yeah, that's true.
That he hasn't been really the same. So we'll have to see about that. All right. Anything else before we close this out? And we're probably going to have a show on. I guess Friday. I didn't do a 2-minute Tuesday just because they played Monday night. I'll try to make it up maybe later in the week. Ray, any last thoughts and moving forward?
The only thing I thought about last night's game is, as rough as it was from our offensive line, imagine if Von Miller had been in there. They would have been all coming at us from both sides all night long. So we've caught a break. I don't think we've faced Von Miller since he's been on Buffalo, have we? He's been out for
yeah, we did. I think he caused a fumble by Zach Wilson.
The second game.
Right.
Marty, I'm going to end with 2 optimistic thoughts. One, we're going to get our first round pick next year so we can draft our next quarterback bust. And there's a list of about 8 quarterbacks that everyone's in love with now, and whoever they pick is going to stink. I don't care who it is. And the best news, Marty, and you got to be happy about this, is they're going to flex all our games to 1 p.m. in the field.
Well, that's going to be awesome. That's one thing which I like. The one thing I'll say, and again, I don't want to overshadow that the Jets, they won the game, and it really was, when you think about it, a gutsy performance, especially by the defense too. They were just like outstanding what they did. And I know what Ralph said is true about Josh Allen, but they caused a lot of that stuff too. Josh Allen made some good plays scrambling, and he made that one play like I referenced where he like flipped the ball, which was an amazing play. So, Jet fans really, it's hard to do, but you have to try to enjoy this victory. I think they have something in this Xavier Gibson, and for all Jet fans that get on Joe Douglas for that 2020 draft, you got to look at some of these undrafted free agents he's picked up, like Bryce Huff and this Xavier Gibson. And I maintain this to this day that Adam Gase, who helped get Joe Douglas in here, was influential in that draft. I have no proof of it. So I want to try to be optimistic. We're going to see what happens as far as what are they going to do about quarterback situation. I know that Joe Douglas is going to kick every tire around. We'll see. I'm going to go out on the limb. All right, we're each going to take one shot at one quarterback. I'm going to say they're going to sign Matt Ryan. That's my prediction. Ralph, you go.
I'll say Nick Foles.
Okay, and it could be a trade for a pick. I know some names that have come up. Who was the quarterback he used to be starting New Orleans? What was his name?
Jameis Winston?
Yeah, Jameis Winston. Oh, by the way,
looking
back now, who would you rather?
I thought about that question. If we could do it over today.
Oh, my God. Ray, you know what we're talking about. Who would you rather have signed now?
At this point, who would you rather have going forward? Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, you see,
So I want to leave on another optimistic note, Marty. And
I want one name. I took.
Okay, Ray, you gonna give us a name for quarterback?
I don't,
one. Take your list of three and just pick. It could be the same thing. Could be Matt Ryan, Nick Foles. I know Ray loves Tom Brady. Every night he's.
I think we probably have to give the Raiders our number one pick to get him, but I'd probably, with the guys who are on the field now, probably Ryan. I mean, if we were talking about anybody, I think I was intrigued by the thought of Rivers coming out, and
So did Ryan played last year?
Yeah, remember he got benched.
Right,
the whole coaching thing went crazy.
So, Marty, I just want to mention one more thing, which will make you happy, because I know this is important to you. And I got to give a game ball to Robert Saleh, because I don't know what he said to them at halftime, but they came out in the second half with energy and purpose, and they dominated the game in a situation which, I mean, even Xavier Gibson at the end of the game, they're interviewing him, they say, what was it like on the sidelines? And when that happened, he says, we just lost all our energy. It was just, we were deflated. And for him to have been able to get those guys back and playing, I got to give him a nod for that. And I know you put a lot of stock in, second half and halftime adjustments or whatever.
One other thing about the quarterback thing, because you had said about Belichick grabbing Boyle, wouldn't we have elevated him about the time they said Rodgers is out? He's probably not available.
I heard he wasn't on the 53-man roster, so I don't know what
to start the game, but
I don't think the quarterback doesn't count this year. The third quarterback,
right? That's what I thought. I hear different things, and I'm not sure who's.
I don't think there's any way that he can steal him.
You know what? He can have him if he wants. If he wants to play that game, you know what? What's his name? Broderick Jones is not even starting for the Steelers. So anyone who's bitching at Joe Douglas for not going after a tackle, that would have been the guy, and he's struggling. Maybe he'll be a good player, but he wouldn't have helped us this year. Yeah.
Right. And by the way, the two giant bookends did not look too good against the Cowboys.
Well, in a 40-0 game, who's going to look good on your team?
I just want to mention too that, and I forgot that he was I do remember he was benched. He looked awful, but Matt Ryan is 38 years old.
The question is this a better team than that Indianapolis team? Yeah, it's a better team. I know he's the offensive line, but he's got a defense that can support him and get him the ball in good position. He's got really good skilled players. So
Ralph, you may remember, and Ray, you also in Indianapolis when he was there. How were their receivers last year? Do you remember who they were?
I don't know.
They have T.Y. Hilton, right? Is one of them.
Yeah, he's getting kind of old. They did have Jonathan Taylor running, but
Well, I'm hoping it's Matt Ryan. Okay.
okay. I'll take it. I'll
I would
take
take it too. He's not the most mobile, but I mean, he's smart. I think he'd handle the pressure a lot better than Zach does.
Well, how about this for a crazy thought? Who would you rather have for the rest of the year, Wilson or Joe Flacco?
Oh boy, Joe Flacco. By the way, it's good that you brought that up, Ralph, because
He did say.
one of the reporters said that Joe Flacco is staying in shape. He says he could still play in the NFL, but you know what? That might be the guy, Ralph. I hope it's not.
No.
I can't see them doing it, especially who's going to have a big say in this is Hackett. He's got to have a huge voice in who they're going to get.
Yeah, I'm sure his input will be there. Anybody. I just want anyone with experience.
Yeah,
anyone who can just stand back there and release the damn ball.
Right.
Do you think Rodgers is going to be invisible now, or
that's a good question. Yeah,
that's a very good question. I think he might be for a couple of weeks, but I think he might show up. So we'll
hope so.
See. That's my phone. That's Rob August calling me. All right, look, we're going to close this out now. This was a good show, considering the circumstances. And look, Jet fans, you are in first place right now. Okay, you're undefeated. You won your first game. We got to start looking at this half glass, half full. And they got an incredible defense. And again, they compared it, Reed compared it to the 85 Browns. They're not there yet.
Bears,
It can be something special.
By the way, is Carl Lawson, is that guy retired? I mean,
they mentioned him, just that he's having back issues. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, let me close this out, guys. Wait a minute. Are you guys there?
Yeah.
I'm
I'm Ray. I'm with